very much. It's a real pleasure to be here and listen to everyone, and I've never been part of something like this before. I'm so far out of my comfort zone, and I love it. I love it. I have to tell you, I love it. And the intentionality of the crowd is fantastic, so thank you in advance for what will have nothing to do with economics. And I think you're all like, you're like, this lad is going to take us to Mordor. I'm like, no. You're in the Shire, guys. You're in the Shire. Do not worry. Do not worry. Do not worry. I'm not normally giving talks about who I am or what I believe, but I think this is the crowd to do that. So here's who I am. That's not the slide. Here's who I am. My last set of slides were like boring academic slides. And then I had like a freak out at 4 o'clock in the morning, did these. So here's a picture with very few words. Here's what I love. If you had to ask me who I am, then I would tell you what I love. I love starting new structures, new things, starting new structures. I love listening to people's stories. If I could pick a job, it would be to speak to everybody in the world once. That's not my quote. That's a quote from a guy called Quentin Crisp in a beautiful book everyone should read called Manners from Heaven. It's a fantastic book. I love teaching and writing, which is great because I'm a professor, and I love thinking about the future, which is also good. So basically, this is sort of the starter pack for being an academic. And I'm good at being an academic, and I've been an academic for a very long time now. I gave my first lecture at 21 on an acetate projector. And I am aware that I'm fairly young looking. And at 21, I looked like a fetus. So I rocked up. And everyone was sitting in exactly this line, and I'd learnt off what I was going to do. And I started writing on this little projector thing. And if you're of a certain age, you won't know what I'm talking about. But basically, there's a box with light shining through it, and there's like plastic that you write on. And there's a projector going that way. Right? So I'm writing on this fucking thing, and I'm going, blah, 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 don't look at anybody. Just bait through the work. Get to the bottom of the thing, only to realize I had not put the acetate on the glass. I realized at the same time as everyone else. And it's interesting. So I was like, I gotta go. Gone. So anyway, it all worked out, is the answer. It all worked out, and I've been doing it ever since. I'm very, very happy in the University of Limerick doing my thing. But I've gotten to a certain stage where I've realized that what I'm doing is perpetuating a previous structure. And I've done a lot of reading about this structure that we're all part of. So hands up here who went to university. Look around. Keep the hand up and look around. Yeah, okay. It's really, really interesting, by the way. Every crowd I've ever spoken to, there's literally a gender divide in how people put up their hands. Everyone. The men are like, and the women do this. It's amazing. Always. It's incredible. Incredible. It's never failed. It's just unbelievable. Okay, so there's this structure, and we're part of this structure. So if you went to university, I guarantee you this is what you did. You did 5 or 6 different courses that ran in parallel in semesters or trimesters, and they didn't talk to one another. And there was somebody, usually a dude, standing up front like this, going yap, 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 and probably with some slides, yap, 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 and you went, yeah, sound, okay. And then at the end of it, there was sort of an exam, and then you did the exam, and then you forgot all about it, and then you went off and did whatever you're going to do. And the university experience, it was very good as a shaping experience, but the education didn't really connect to you, and it didn't really alter you. What altered you was the stuff that happened around the university experience. And that's very important. But I've become really aware as I've gotten older, and I've just done this again and again and again. I teach classes with 750 people in them, right? And they're massive classes, and it's like, so I've taught something like 10 to 15,000 people. And it's like, am I going to keep doing this? Because there's only really 2 jobs where you're absolutely sure it's going to be the same. Professor and priest, right? Like, we're both really tenured, do you know what I mean? It's grand. So thinking about this structure is important. So I started researching it. But I wanted to talk to you about technology first, because this is a conference that has something to do with technology. There's something deep within us that we want to express. When economists talk about technology, we think about blueprints. So like making a cheese sandwich is a technology, because you know how to do it, right? Making a camera, making this thingy, and all that, it's a technology. So it's basically a repeatable way of expressing a new idea. That's a technology. And it's a really important way to understand this, because education is a technology. It's a way to get ideas into people. And the problem with this right now is that it's a very old technology. We tend to think about education as something that's maybe in the last half century, but actually it's thousands of years old. And in fact, this structure is thousands of years old. So, and it's become... There was a brilliant phrase, if it's nagging at you, the last session, was, if it's nagging at you, you probably need to look at it. And this has been nagging at me for years. This idea that I would spend my entire career doing the same fucking thing over and over again, you know, and I'm thinking I could do something different. So the thing about real technologies, deep technologies, is that they are deeply persistent structures, deeply persistent, right? I have a very good friend, he's a Benedictine monk. He's been doing the same thing as every single Benedictine monk since the 5th century. That's a deeply persistent structure, right? We have deeply persistent structures built throughout our society. And the problem with a lot of these structures is that they are not fit for purpose, and perhaps never were. They just happened to work. And then we kept doing them because they happened to work. So there's a smooth groove. And I can tell you, I could keep doing this. I could keep doing this for 30 more years, right? But I don't want to, because I think there's a better way. This is a lecture theatre in Egypt. It's at least 2,500 years old. Now there's two parts to the word, lecture, theatre. Lecture, meaning, from the Latin lector, meaning man who reads out. The technology was a book. Books were expensive, somebody had to talk, and you took them down. The structure is important, because if there's only one book and I'm the guy with the book, then you have to listen to what I have to say. And it's very important, because we don't have magnification or amplification of voice, that you sit in a theatre structure. Also, theatres, there's a theatre to it. It's dramatic, there's theatre, right? And what's really interesting about this is, in this structure, one of the hieroglyphics actually says, pay per lecture. Which I love. I love that idea that I could be standing there going, that's a £5, please. Welcome. You've no ticket. You're not getting in. I love that idea. And by the way, Adam Smith, the founder of modern economics, that's how he charged. He charged entry into his lectures, which would have been class. Because you just think the person go, no, not today, mate. Not paying it. So these deeply persistent structures, and they've always nagged at me because I don't think they're fit for purpose. We don't need them. We have better technologies. So now I have to tell you a story. The story is, I get a call. Do you want to come up to Dublin? I live in Limerick. I work in the University of Limerick. Privileged to be there. Privileged to be the chair of a department there. And I get a call. Do you want to come up to Dublin for dinner? And I said, with who? And they said, we can't tell you. And I said, then no. Because that would be insane. And I said, they rang back. And they said, actually, so it's John and Patrick Collison. They run a company called Stripe. And I said, I'll be right up. Click. Up I went. Super fast. And we had dinner, and it was lovely. It was lovely. And we talked about philosophy most of the time. And then they said, why can't we make computer science education better? And I said, I have absolutely no idea. Not a computer scientist. I don't play one on the internet. I have no idea. But I know people who are. And if you're willing to listen to a proposal from us, we might have a go. And yeah, they said, okay, fine. So we did. And what we did was, we created a new kind of software engineering program inside the University of Limerick. So the UL is known for these kind of innovative programs. But it was still very, very, very strange. Because this program, it's a master's degree in 3.5 years. 1,382 days to be precise. The Days Matter. It is explicitly targeted at learning by doing. So you spent half of your degree in companies. The course material is designed with the companies so that it's very, very close to what they want to be and what they want the person to be. It also has a very, very deep educational component. And by the way, it's a whole year long. So we take away your summers, but we give you residencies. So the idea was we wanted to target the most ambitious people, the people who were otherwise going to do other things. So my instruction to the marketing people was, go and create a message. You've got a brilliant theoretical physics student, a brilliant person, who's going to do theoretical physics in Trinity College Dublin or Oxford or Cambridge or somewhere like that. I want you to change her mind and change her mother's mind. Everyone's like, oh yeah. You get it. And we did. So no lectures, no exams, no lecture hall. Total freedom for the students. They get to edit the space. They get to work in the space. A summer term didn't exist before. We created all these things. The team actually have a list of, we've never done that before. We've never done insert X before. There were 47 of them before we got to here. So we had to hack down some of the institutional stuff. And by the way, the institution supported us to do it, but we were still like, no, it's a university. They have to do lectures. And you're like, why? Why? Why do they have to do lectures? Because we've always done it before. Fuck that. Why? Why? You don't need to do it. So, in Ireland, there's a points system. It's supply and demand, okay? So with these guys, we knew we were looking for very, very, very smart, academically smart people, but we also wanted to bring in a portfolio, an artist's portfolio. We got it from a friend who's an artist. So just make them do a portfolio, show them where they're creative. So we did. And in our system, we have 625 points for the exams and 300 points for the portfolio. So a maximum of 925 points. The minimum to get into this course, the minimum points, the person who got the lowest points to get into this course had 803 points. Wow. It's the highest points course in the history of the university. It's second highest in the entire country. It's only a year old. These students are incredible people. Incredible people. They're artists, they're technologists, they're founders, they're everything. It's incredible. There's only 25 of them now. There's 50 next year. A couple of months. This is fantastic. Fantastic. Huge success. The companies, they're out working in companies now. This is day number 436 for them. They started on the 26th of September. They're actually adding to the code bases of the companies that they're working in 2 or 3 weeks into their residencies. So we have medical residencies, this idea. So it's all working amazingly well. Super. Super. So what's next? The answer is, I think, biology. So you've got this thing where companies are ahead of the public sector. Can you go faster? Can you make people who can make better vaccines? And the answer is yes. The answer is yes. So we're going to do that. But what's the filter? I wanted to get to this. How do you decide what things to chuck? Right? The lecture. Why do you chuck that? Why do you chuck that? Why do you chuck that? Does anybody know who this person is? It's Hayley Giffords. She's the first female coach in the NBA. This is one of her calmer poses, by the way. Every pose is just her going, roaring at people. But I wanted to do two things. The filter when jettisoning an old structure. The first is excellence. So excellence is this idea. I've got sons and they do rowing. And I picked them up from rowing and asked them, how did you get on? They go, it was amazing. Oh, right, well, what happened? They roared at me for an hour. Somebody's shouting at you for an hour and you're delighted. Why? Why are you delighted? You're delighted because they're giving you constructive feedback and they're approaching your effort and your endeavor with seriousness. So excellence. It's not okay to just phone it in. It's not okay. You are here to be amazing. We are here to make you amazing. We are here for the companies so the companies know you're amazing. We are putting in every amount of effort that is required to make you amazing. And you're down the back, hungover, fuck all of that. You want to be hungover? Be hungover. You're an adult, be hungover. But come to work. Pull it together. So we don't do that. We bring a culture of seriousness to it. It's not a pressurized thing. It's saying, be your best. Wherever that happens to start from, be your best. The second is agency. The first thing to admit when you're doing something brand new is that you have no idea. This is a very tricky thing to do when you're supposed to be literally the professor. I don't know what I'm doing. Word! You don't know what you're doing. You don't know. It's literally in the job title. You're supposed to know what you're doing. It's like, I don't know what I'm doing. Why? Because it's a software engineering degree. I'm a professor of economics. So I have to give you agency. So the students have agency. So every week we sit down with the students, we go, how did it go? How did it work? What worked? What didn't work? What can we change? How can we improve it? With the companies, we say, we don't know what we're doing. Help us. Help us. We don't know what we're doing. It's totally experimental. So if you start from that basis of we are having a go here, we're having our best go, we're throwing a lot of money, a lot of expertise, a lot of brilliance, a lot of creativity at it, but we're really just kind of having a go. That comes back to you in spades, because then you give people the agency to say, no, that worked, that didn't work. Those are the two filters. And we're going to do other newer things with it. All right. What happened? How did it work? Three things, three tools. The first was the assumption killer. This is my entire job. My entire job in all of this was to go, why do you do that? Because I'm not a computer scientist. They had to explain it to me. But I'm also, I'm not a member of the public. I'm not a civilian, right? I understand how to teach a class. I understand how to do all that. Why do you do that? And after about 5 minutes, it was really clear. Most of the answer is because we did it yesterday. No. How about we not do that? How about we experiment? The second thing is the bravery enhancer. Bravery enhancers. So why are we still doing the same thing that we did 2,000 years ago? Could we not think about something different? And the answer is, well, it's tricky. And I'm like, bro, who here isn't tenured? No one. So why aren't you braver? Why aren't you braver? Why don't you take the risk? What literally do you have to lose? Nothing. Nothing. You have nothing to lose. Have a go. I think there's a lot of stuff in Stoic philosophy about just how to be braver. And actually, academia tends to select for a risk-averse set of people. So, ultimately, I think there's something about that. But just be braver. And then then I love this. Get it done faster or just go faster. Speed defeats process. Speed defeats bureaucracy. Speed defeats moss. Speed defeats everything. Just do it. In academia, you can very often hear things like, 2025, it's quite close. You sure? In the private sector, people are like, what? 2025, can we not do it in 2027? Seriously? People are laughing. No, seriously. That is a thing I've heard. No, but I'm not joking in any way. I'm totally serious. That's exactly what it was like. And I was like, no, we're going to do it in 2 months. What? 2 months, that's it. I need a team of 5 people. We're going to do it in 2 months. And we did. We did. And we're doing the next 2 faster again. Get it done faster. Your enemy in doing new things is not some malice or some malicious individual out to get you. Your enemy is inertia. Your enemy is institutional inertia. And the way to get beyond it is just to go as fast as you can. Sometimes it can feel like walking through cold peanut butter laced with fucking razors. Okay, sure. Subconscious is like, sure, okay, this is what we got. But it's true, but it can work. And it does work, and it can work. Okay, last 3 things, 50 seconds. Every actual future is an act of will. Every actual future. If you actually do it, you have to will it into being. You have to decide it's what you want to do and go and fucking do it, right? Every actual future is an act of will. Your collective will. Okay, I don't mean it in the Nietzschean kind of scary-ass sense, right? But you have to decide and go. And that's tricky, especially with, the cleverer you are sometimes, the more tricky this is, actually, because the intelligence and the intelligent part of you is brilliant at coming up with critical reasons for why you shouldn't do it. Yeah. Everything is in the past, but elsewhere. This is another really important point. I rocked up to the medical school, and I was like, I've got this brilliant idea. What we're going to do, right? We're going to train computer scientists, as if they're doctors. And the doctor's like, sure. And what we're going to do, right, is we're going to just like have them go out and learn in the real world. And the physios are like, okay. What's the new thing? I'm like, there's nothing new about this. Nothing new. It's just new in computer science. Everything is in the past or elsewhere, right? You just have to go find it. And then listening to people about how they do the thing is probably the best way. A book I can't recommend more highly, Where is My Flying Car? It's a history of how we thought about the future. It's brilliant. This has nothing to do with my talk. I just really recommend it everywhere I go. It's a great book. Where is My Flying Car? Finally, how do you figure out what to do? How do you figure out what to do? Look within what's called the adjacent possible. This is an idea from complex systems theory, a guy called Stuart Kauffman. Basically, and why is there a tractor? A tractor, there was a real problem with plowing fields with tractors. The issue was they wanted to make big cars, and the chassis kept sinking into the ground. So what they realized was if they just bolt the wheels to the actual engine block, it'll work better. And if you look at old pictures of tractors, you'll see that. So the tractor is in the adjacent possible to a car. And it works great. But it's just an engine block, essentially. The adjacent possible. So here's a good example of this in my final thought. The biologists have a problem. And the problem is they can't teach the scientists how to move in the labs. They can't teach them how to move. You basically have a €650,000 printer that prints out vaccines, new kinds of versions of vaccines. And you make these chemicals, and then you bump into somebody. So you can't move. The students need to learn how to move. And the way they used to learn how to move was trial and error. Okay? They just did it till they got it right. So I thought, well, it's just movement. And we have, in the University of Limerick, we have the World Academy of Music and Dance. So I asked the professor of dance, would she come and show the scientists how to move? And she was like, why not? It's fucking mental, sure. And it turns out, it's just a sachet. That's it. That's all you need to learn. That's it. And then you won't bump into anybody, because your coat is like swishing, because you're wearing a lab coat. And it's this whole thing. Anyway, I know, it doesn't make any sense, but it works great. You're not wasting hundreds of thousands of euros of proteinomic material, right? Anyway, all of this is true because you're willing to see into the adjacent possible. It's not rocket science. It's not difficult. It's just a willingness to see beyond a disciplinary structure. And when you do, it's great crack. It's great fun. It really is. Like this place. It's just great fun. And it's great crack. And I'm just really thankful to all of you for your time and attention. So thank you. Yeah.